Burgundy. Purple?
Purple.
I got this from the thrift store last night, so I went thrifting. Loves it. It was $2. Sin flannel.
Salty.
Sin. I thought it was great. I took Sin thrifting last night. He loves it. Yeah. He found it when he went off on his own. He found a leather jacket. He's like, yeah, man, I got this.
Oh, I saw that earlier.
$3. Flannel. He was going to town.
Oh, really?
I know, but it still
Good.
stinks. Maybe the heat. Yeah, the heat's like.
You'll see.
You'll see. I think it's.
Just wait.
Well, I shouldn't have feeling. It was very good. Some people are not used to shoes.
It's better.
So it's still playing Spanish. It was very good, very tasty. That's what Paul told me. That is really good.
Aren't you supposed to be?
There were some, I mean,
Only 78 cents.
so nice.
That's what she's like, oh, wow, that's cool. We have it now.
It's the highlighter for me. What's on fire?
No, using on my daughter.
I put these pants on today, and they're so good. I wish I could wear
Yeah, I knew it as soon as you said it. He's the little guy that helps her navigate stuff. I've never seen it. Same, I was a huge fan of
They're just being let her out. Yeah, right, well, I would hope they were.
They don't have for me.
We don't have a contract
Yeah,
there.
and it would also.
Oh, okay, well,
She said the name of the light.
Project readiness.
Well, I asked Dave.
Well, they're take it out.
I think they're. I know, and I think
I'm scared to.
They did
that all.
Contract.
Steve told me before.
I have a great name, she would never
They
fail.
don't want part of the writing. They don't.
I'm scared to take them out. Remember last year I got really wrong?
I can't remember, I read through it was all the. Yeah, they'll probably build it.
But I still put away. I say I've never taken mine out, and I'm not letting take it out.
Yeah, it's great.
Not
I left mine in
I
last
always
year.
get jealous of
Yeah.
Actually, let me ask Ken.
That's fine, that's fine.
Yeah, I forgot to sign that off. Alan always used to come in. Really high. I was eating one day and I like turned gold. Like, don't change your shirt.
Good morning, who do we have?
Jessica Seagrave,
Good morning.
Jamie from Utah,
Good morning.
Nancy from Probation.
Good morning.
Morning. Mr. Rogers.
Good morning. Okay, are we ready? Go ahead. Just one. Okay. Morning, everyone. Ask you please rise for the opening prayer and pledge allegiance before we start our meeting. Dear Heavenly Father, we praise you this morning for another day you have granted us. We thank you for your goodness and blessings that you shower us with. Your great love, mercy, compassion, and grace. Forgive us when we reflect our sinful nature and do not show gratitude. Renew our spirit that we will strive to do what pleases your will. Lord, as we reflect on our spirit, we recognize we have a human body that often suffers with illness and disease. As we remember this month as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we ask that you'll be with those that are suffering. We pray for those that are afflicted with having their health, and we ask you to completely restore their health. Comfort them and remove all fear, replacing it with faith, strength, and courage. We pray that during the month, that awareness will be circulated and testing will be completed. May the early detections of this horrible disease receive immediate help so those loved ones will be with us for many more years. Let each of us be a support system, that when called upon, we have an open ear, a soldier to lean and cry on, and a pillar of strength and prayer for them. Father, we pray for protection over all of evil. One evil that many Americans are experiencing is domestic violence. This plague affects 1 in every 33 Americans, totaling 10 million that suffer in this environment. It affects schools, workplaces, and the family. Domestic violence is at the heart that tears a family apart. We pray for the men and women that are scared, feel trapped, and lack hope. Lord, give them hope of clarity and confidence with a path forward. In your word, you state, when the righteous cry for help, the Lord hears and rescues them from all their troubles. We pray for the innocent children that witness the horrific reruns. We pray that they do not grow to recycle another generation of insanity. Guide and assist the professionals, the teachers, and neighbors, and the friends to be on alert for the signs to prevent any future victims. May they have the boldness to become involved to stop these brutalities. Let us take all measures to strive to eliminate this violence permanently. May we share your love in harmony and unity. Father, our hearts are heavy with these issues, but we know that you are the great physician and healer over all that ever existed. We humbly bring these requests to you and pray for healing, protection, and guidance. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll convene the Commissioners' public meeting at this time and ask for approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Chairman, I think we got to take an action on the agenda.
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner, seeking your approval to make a change to the agenda. I'd like to remove the on-call policy update, which is under salary board, and move that to action item 7.0 alpha.
I'll make a motion to remove the salary board action described.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So carried. Okay, ask for approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I think we did that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's it.
Public comment on agenda items open. Any public comments? Any online?
None.
Okay. Proclamation. Proclamation. Whereas domestic violence has affected members of our community and individuals throughout the world. Sadly, many victims of this horrific crime suffer in silence because they are afraid to seek help. It is crucial that members of our community feel safe and comfortable when seeking help when needed. And whereas it is estimated that more than 10 million people experience domestic violence every year. While domestic violence is known primarily as physical abuse, it has many other forms including emotional, sexual, financial, or psychological. It can cause long-term trauma to individuals of every gender, sexual orientation, race, religion, culture, and socioeconomic status. And whereas since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, Lycoming County has seen an increase in reports of domestic violence and abuse. A contributing factor to the increase is more people were staying home during lockdowns or are forced to stay home during exposures or quarantine periods. Although home is a sanctuary for most of us, it can be the most dangerous place for victims of domestic violence. And whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month is nationally recognized every October, and first began by the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence as a day of unity to connect women's advocates across the country. This month is an opportunity to help our community promote and protect the safety and freedom of all who seek refuge from this terrible crime. And whereas Williamsport YMCA, Wise Options, is dedicated to help victims of domestic violence by providing advocacy, education, service, and resources. Through their programs, individuals and families can feel a sense of hope, safety, and protection. And whereas Lycoming County encourages members of the community to work together to increase domestic violence awareness. Doing so will enable members of our community to feel safe and secure. Now therefore be it resolved that the Commissioners of Lycoming County do hereby proclaim October 20th, 2022 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. In Lycoming County, we encourage residents, schools, businesses, and community groups to recognize the importance of domestic violence awareness. We appreciate the efforts of Williamsport, YWCA, Wise Options, and all our institutions and organizations that encourage domestic violence awareness throughout our community. In witness thereof, we have set our hands and sealed this day, 20th day of October 2022, the Lycoming County Commissioners, Scott L. Metzger, Chairman, Tony R. Massar, Vice Chairman, and Richard Marabito, Secretary. We have in attendance today Amber Morningstar. We'd like you to come up, please, and give us a few words.
Thank you, Commissioners, for proclaiming October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. My name is Amber Morningstar, and I'm the Program Director for the YWCA, not the YM.
Did I say M?
You did. It's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We forgive you. The YWCA North Central PA. Each year we work month-long to emphasize the detriment domestic violence has on its victims and our community at large, while highlighting the services available at Wise Options. In addition, we recognize and remember those who have lost their lives in our county. At the YWCA, Wise Options has been in existence for 45 years as the only victim service provider for Lycoming County, providing advocacy to victims in our communities. I don't want to stand before you and repeat what I do each October, but as I sat back and thought about how to revise the speech, it became profoundly clear that as I may repeat myself each October, domestic violence in itself is a cycle. The women and men, the children that we serve live in a repeated cycle of abuse. They experience hate over and over and often see no way out. Over the last year, we supported 1,552 victims of domestic violence in Lycoming County with their way out. That number is significant, but let me remind you that 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will or have been a victim of domestic violence in their lifetimes. We know that there are many residents of Lycoming County who are currently suffering in silence, who are afraid to seek help, who are afraid to be ridiculed, who are afraid and feel they have no one to support them and no way out. I stand before you this morning in a call to action. This year's theme is Everyone Knows Someone. So everyone in this room knows someone who's been impacted by domestic violence. Please, if you take anything away from this proclamation and our time here together, let it be a duty to step up against the monsters of domestic violence. Let it be your call to support a friend or a loved one. Speak up. Speak up when you're scared, and seek help within Wise Options if you yourself are suffering. The life-saving work we do each day would not be possible without the support of this county. From law enforcement and probation, the DA's office, pro bono attorneys, healthcare, community partners, we greatly appreciate the work you do each day to make justice and safety possible for those that we serve. Lastly and importantly, I'd like the staff of the YWCA to please stand. Is there anyone else here that doesn't work at the YWCA? Can we please give them a round of applause for their tireless efforts? These ladies work day in and day out, 24/7, around the clock, often for little pay and for gut-wrenching work that's hard. They take it home with them. And I just want us to recognize their work, because without them, there would be many victims in Lycoming County who would not have the support that they need. So please join us tonight at the Vigil of Remembrance and Hope at 5:30 p.m. at the YWCA as we continue to bring light to this difficult issue in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. So first of all, I want to apologize for saying who I am.
You're good. We know where your heart is.
I think that's a habit from going down there to go to the gym and go down there to work out. So I usually go to Eastern Y, which is the YM, and head down that direction. So I apologize for that. But this is very dear to my heart because I supervised these individuals for 17 years of my career. I saw the horror. I talked to the victims in their homes in my office and watched the tears roll down their cheeks with the lack of hope they felt. There was nobody there for them. You know, the kids giving me a blank stare, like they were zombies, because they didn't know any of their life. I think of one case I had, which still haunts me. This woman had fled her husband, and he continued to haunt her. There was a time when they were in the living room together with the kids, and the kids were in our Little League. So I knew the kids firsthand. And he said to his kids, pick one of the 4 walls, because I'm going to shoot your mom, and that's where her brains are going to be on. The emotional damage that does to a kid is beyond words. I locked that guy up and put him in jail, and he laughed at me over at the county prison. He said, you can lock me up, I'll get out of here. There's nothing you can do to me. When I get out, I'm going to kill her, and you can't stop me. He died in the prison. He died of a disease. That's the only thing that stopped him. Thank God those kids grew up normal. I had to warn the Little League coaches, if you see this type of car come down the road, that's the dad. Call 911 immediately. Get the kids sheltered and call 911 if you see that vehicle. That's the horror they had to live in. So when I prayed this morning, it was a little lengthy, but it was necessary. It was necessary because this has to stop. It has to stop. One victim is too many. One victim is too many. And we can't stick our heads in the sand and say, that's not my problem. They made that situation. They didn't make that situation. And we have to help them get out of it. So thank you so much for what you do. You know, a lot of times people wonder if their work is worth the effort. They go home at the end of the day and they say to themselves, did I make a difference? You make a difference. You make a big difference. And thank you for what you do.
You know, Amber, you mentioned all the law enforcement and the county agencies. I hope that the public will understand that they alone cannot really change. They are coming in after the violence has already occurred. They're coming in the case, as our commissioner cited, when the crisis. I think it really behooves all of us to think about the behavior we engage in, right? Both men and women, particularly men. How children model our behavior. You know, if you come in the house and you yell at your wife or partner, and I'm not saying everybody has a moment when they go, but if it becomes the habitual way of communicating, that's what children learn. So that's what a child is going to see, and that's what a child is going to think is both acceptable, and not to mention that it's not even enjoyable, right? I mean, part of being in a family, however it's structured, is to have the safety, the security. I thought about that last night after we came home from that meeting. I was looking forward to going home, you know? And it's sad for people who can't look forward to going home. So I just try to say to the men, and I know, and part of it is that, and I wondered, Amber, if you've ever looked at this, I don't want to put you on the spot, about cultural patterns of domestic violence in other cultures. I mean, we live in and I know some might disagree with it, but we live in a very patriarchal society that's got a lot of misogyny in it. I mean, when I look back, you look back at the history of how women were identified as a witch because they thought differently, because they believed differently. And we burned thousands of them. And so you can get into all sorts of philosophical and other kinds of historical analyses of what's gone on. But at the end of the day, I think that if we want to try to affect something in our lives, we have to be conscious of the behavior that we exhibit and try to model a different model. It is true, you said 1 in 7, but overwhelmingly it's a problem that is borne by women in greater numbers, I think. And I would be interested at some point in sort of trying to understand and look at some of the other cross-cultural studies. But that's the main thing. We appreciate what you all do, because what you do is you come and you remind us to try to think about how we live and to try to think about the behavior so that we can try to change it. And that's a good step towards it. So we don't have to have law enforcement officers doing it, and we don't have to have APO and so forth. So thank you all for being in the trenches doing that work, and any way we can help, we certainly will.
So Amber, in your opening remarks, you talked about the guilt, the shame, sometimes taking responsibility for the violence within the family, which is all very true. Okay, I'll give you an example. Just last week when I was in Florida, we were at a resort, and all of a sudden we heard someone screaming, and so we ran over and heard some mother that just collapsed, and she was told that her daughter was just murdered by this guy that just had a PFA put out, and then obviously very, very difficult. But when we looked at, you look at Y's options, you look at the YWCA, and you see the facility, and you see the volunteers and your team out there working. I want people to be rest assured that don't be afraid, don't be ashamed. Get the help that's needed, because you do need help. And here's a great example of don't put yourself in those situations, even though sometimes that's what they believe they have to do. There is help here in our community. And we appreciate everything that you do for the community and for the women and men. And whenever you come to us, I'm sure we will always support what you need. So please don't hesitate to ask. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Would anyone of your staff like to come up and speak?
Anyone want to say anything?
We'd like you to come up and with a proclamation and give to you. We'd like to do a picture with you. That's okay.
Yeah. You guys want to come up for a picture?
Thank you.
And I do collect shirts, so I'll pay for them.
Oh, we probably have one you can get.
Okay.
Where are we looking first?
Do you want to go first? No, go ahead. No, it's fine.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Can I get that picture?
And we invite everyone tonight at 5:30 to attend the vigil, which will be held at Wise Options on 4th Street at 5:30. So we look forward to seeing you there, and anyone from the public is welcome to attend.
Okay, moving on to reports 2.1. I'm going to take care of accounts payable cash requirement report. And just so you know, commissioners, there was a revision to the number, and I'll go through that in a second. Presented for your ratification are the invoices due through 16 October 2022 that were paid on 19 October 2022 in the amount of, here's the new amount, $1,577,715.19. And this is due to a $33.80 credit that didn't get posted on time. And again, the new total amount is $1,577,715.11.
Okay, thank you.
Can I go through the?
Yeah.
So in the general fund, $550,155 and change for 34.87%. In grants and other sources, $112,377 and change, 7.12%. RMS was $911,309 and change, 57.76%. Ending escrow, $3,913 and change, 4.25%.
So which was the one that had the change in it? I think I missed that. Or maybe you didn't get to do it
In the body, but the total amount, there was a $33.80 credit
In the
that didn't
general
get
fund.
posted. Yeah.
in the general fund.
Yeah.
Okay.
A motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second, but I'd like to
Questions, comments?
And by the way, there will be an updated report for you
Okay.
guys to sign.
Great, thank you.
I think the residents should know what's going on here in the county at this particular time. And we've had a tremendous amount of employees that left. Our budget and finance department, basically everybody's new except for one person, and all within a year. And they're doing a great job for what they can do. And I want to thank the sheriff for allowing some of his staff to come on over. We had one person leave for his department, and she came over to help when we lost our director.
She still is.
Yeah.
She's over there as of this week.
Yeah, And then we had, I wanted to thank Shannon for allowing Heather, who was one of our accountants that moved to planning, because it is difficult. It's not just accounting. This is governmental accounting, and it needs to be done correctly. And so there can be mistakes that are happening, but unintentional, and we find them. Okay, so I just wanted to say that I appreciate all the elected officials in our planning department for stepping up to the plate and helping us out. And we have hired Susquehanna to help us get along through this budget process. It's a lengthy process, and we have rookies, okay? And I can't give Matt enough credit, because I'm sure, heck, you got a lot on your plate.
Yeah, a couple.
Okay. But I'm gonna thank you as well, Matt.
One day I'll figure out exactly how we work an escrow account and some of the different transactions.
Okay, good. All fair say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Mine.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Before you is the report that of contracts that were approved by the Director of Administration. There were 10.
So we have solicitor services, banquet event, GED prep program. These are professional services. Uniform, psychological evaluations, maintenance services, audit, recreation authority, maintenance services, Spanish interpreter. So we do this to enable our county business to continue sometimes when there's a bill that is not a tremendous expenditure, but that needs to be dealt with immediately. Sometimes you can't get someone to come in to do something unless you pay them, even ahead of time sometimes, or promptly. So that's what these are.
Okay, motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All in fair say aye?
Aye.
Aye, so carried. Thank you.
Hey, Maya, thank you go out to you as well for all the help. You're a valuable resource in trying to locate a number of things.
Thank you, Maya.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
It's a team effort.
Sure is.
Okay, moving on to personnel actions. Jessica?
Good morning, Commissioners, Director. I have the following personnel actions for your approval. They're conditional offers of employment subject to the successful completion of background checks and all other employment conditions. So for the clerk, Laurel Fox, law clerk 2, full-time transfer, pay grade 11, pay rate is $77,602.56, and she's transferring on October the 16th, or transferred this pay period. The second is for the prison, Amanda Rowland, a corrections officer full-time replacement at the new pay rate, $20 an hour, and she's anticipated to start on October 31st.
Okay, a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Now, second.
Comments or discussion? Questions? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried. This time we'll recess the Commissioners' public meeting for the salary board, and we'll convene the salary board at this time. Jess?
I think Matt was going to speak to these two.
Okay, go ahead. Matt?
Okay, Commissioners, we're seeking your approval / ratification of a memorandum of understanding with AFSCME and the county. AFSCME is the prison's representative union, and that MOU outlines an agreement between the county and the union to increase the starting wage for corrections officers from $18.10 to $20 an hour. In addition, it increases correction officer 1 pay existing or, existing CO1s and CO2s, $5.90 an hour. So that's the same increase from $18.10 to $20 an hour. The intent of the MOU is to improve our recruiting efforts and our retention efforts all along while we're trying to continue to come to an agreement with the terms of the union contract. So this is an interim measure as we continue the negotiation process, even if that leads us to arbitration.
Okay, got a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Have a second. I'll second.
Comments?
Comments?
Are we gonna put in the minutes, what date that $1.90 is effective for current employees?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot. It's effective 16 October, which was this past Sunday, the beginning of the pay period.
So it's no secret that we've been having mandated overtime at the prison. And I don't mean mandated overtime that went for maybe a month or 2 months or 3 months or 4 months. It's been going on for quite a long time, and it tears at the fabric of families, and it makes it harder for employees to be able to, stay with the county. Quite frankly, if you're mandated overtime, you might decide to go look for another job. Of course, when people leave, that in turn makes it more need to have mandated overtime. So this memorandum of understanding is an effort to try to work towards that, and I hope that the employees will understand the intent with which this MOU is signed. I don't think it's in any way detrimental to the county's economic position or to the county's position should this contract have to go to arbitration. But I do think what it does do is it gives us tools to increase the hiring rate and get more people hired there. So we can hopefully, minimize the amount of mandated overtime.
This is a twofold problem. It's hiring and it's retention. And we currently, right now, we're approaching 900 hours in mandated overtime for the year. We have staff that is working mandated overtime numerous times a week, and it is taking a toll on them and in their families. So as we get people in the door with the increase in wages, we also want to make sure on the back end that the guards that are there, that are putting in these hours, also are compensated properly.
And you know what? I think all three of us would like to say thanks to the entire prison staff, from the warden down to every correctional officer and every LPN and RN and support staff there for the job that they've done quietly behind the scenes and making sure that the prison continues to run.
Absolutely. Their dedication is beyond measure. We want to thank them. We have a sergeant that will have worked 70 consecutive days. And we need to get them the relief that they deserve.
And I'd like to add that we've recognized shortfalls, shortcomings within our staff. Not only our staff, but every department staff. And we saw this coming a year ago. And we tried to find solutions and presented solutions so that it did not get to the crisis that we were in. And we did that several months ago. So I want the staff over at the prison to understand that we did try to address this sooner, and it was on deaf ears.
Commissioners, if I can add, I think it's important too to recognize the other agencies that support the effort. Obviously, we've had some changes throughout the past couple of years in who's been able to assist, but APO, JPO, the sheriff's office, the courts in general, everybody's been part of the process, trying to assist in this.
And it doesn't just affect the prison, it affects, as you described, these agencies. For instance, if there's an inmate at the hospital, the guards aren't available to guard the inmate while at the hospital, then the sheriff's office is called upon to do that. And they already are overtaxed. And so it affects other tentacles of the criminal justice system. It's not just the guards, it has outreaching effects.
And if I can add as well, since you mentioned the sheriff's department, there are other departments now too that are seeking solutions to our crisis. And when you get the president judge, the DEA involved, the sheriffs is involved to find a way to reduce the stress that's placed on these COs. I mean, we had an example of a guy missing his daughter's homecoming because he had to work. He was forced to work overtime, and he can't get that back. He can't go to her, homecoming now. It's over. It was her last homecoming. And these are just a few small examples of why we had so many people leaving. Commissioner, if you want to state, we have great staff. We have great lieutenant, sergeant, and warden, but that stress of forced overtime has really hurt us. And I'm hoping that this helps, or at least is in the beginning stage of getting this prison back up to full staff.
I believe this measure shows that we've given a competitive wage out there to bring people in the door, to keep them in the facility, to reduce the mandated overtime, at the same time reward the ones that are there that are experiencing this crisis firsthand and living it on a daily basis.
I want to just say something directly to the guards who are members of the AFSCME local or who are not members. Collective bargaining only works if people know what the facts are. So I think it's important for every employee, whether they're a member of the union or not, to know what the facts are, to know what the proposals that are being put out there are, so that they can make decisions in an atmosphere of knowledge and not in an atmosphere of rumors that people are telling them. And you have every right to have access to all the information that comes out of the collective bargaining meetings.
Well stated, Commissioner.
Thank you.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion or questions? Any of the controllers?
No.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Votes carried 3 votes to 1. Okay, Director?
All right, I'll just make my note. Double duty.
Okay.
Another action that I'm seeking approval on is the addition of 10 part-time correction officer positions to the TVA for the prison. This is another effort to try to bring in additional personnel that can assist in filling shifts on the roster to mitigate or minimize the impacts of the forced overtime.
Have a motion.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Comments or questions? This is a measure, I believe, that we've talked to other prisons. Other prisons are utilizing this method, and it attracts retired law enforcement, retired military. It's attracting college students directly out of school, and then hopefully they'll stay and want to become a full-time guard once they graduate. And so I think this is a measure that's been very successful through other county prisons, and it's a good suggestion and an idea that we brought forward for a vote.
Yeah, this is a real opportunity for people in the community who feel like they may want to work a part-time job and they have some experience, or they have some law enforcement experience or any background, including if you are, a student and you're at Lycoming College or Penn College and you're studying criminal justice. It's a good way to get some work experience that helps you with your career. And the part-time positions should really help fill our need for correctional officers. I think we spoke with Commissioner Snyder from Clinton County. He told us that they have been successfully able to hire part-timers, right?
Yes.
So.
Okay, any further comment or questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, none? So carried 4-0. We'll adjourn the salary board at this time. Or I'm sorry, we have human resources on call policy. And we're not going to address this at this time, or we are?
No, we're taking it out of the salary board and moving it to an action item.
Okay. So we'll adjourn the salary board at this time. And we'll thank the controller for joining us. And we'll reconvene the commissioners' public meeting.
Okay, TDA actions. Jess, you still on?
I am still on, so just also making these changes to our TDA that Matt just mentioned. The wage adjustment outlined in the MOU, changing the pay rate for the EO positions to $20 an hour, and then the addition of the 10 part-time CO positions to the prison's TDA.
Okay. Have a motion.
I'll move to approve both items.
Have a second. I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so carried 2-1.
And I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, feel free to.
That it is not about the wages. I have no issue with the wages going up for the CEOs.
Okay.
Can I just make a point of clarification?
Yes.
And it might have been my fault. I made a motion that included both items in
Yes,
the
you did.
motion. And so if you'd rather.
Yes, let's take them separately.
Yeah, I'll withdraw that motion and,
I need another motion.
okay, I'll move to approve the wage adjustment as outlined in the AFL-CIO memo.
Okay, I'll second. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Your comments?
I said.
Okay, 7, okay.
Okay.
All right, so carried 2-1.
I'll move to approve adding the additional 10 part-time positions.
All right, a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further comments on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried 3-0.
Okay. Information items. Maya?
Yes, good morning again. Just wanted to acknowledge that the county is going to be requesting proposals for floodplain housing renovation project, which is located at 251 Jordan Ave in the Montoursville Borough. This is part of our grant funds that we have. There's been a little bit of delay in the process of that, just due to the current environment, but we hope to get this project moving.
Maya, that Jordan Avenue is the street south, runs parallel with Broad Street,
Yes,
right?
yes.
That's right, yeah, back behind it.
For street sale.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, moving on to action items. This is where we're going to add 7.0 alpha.
Okay.
All right, so,
Go ahead.
yes, this is seeking your approval on a clarification on the on-call policy. There was revisions made to the policy back in January 4th of 2022, and there had been some confusion about what that change was. So just clarifying that the policy should read that it's 6 hours per week for those items listed in the policy. It currently says 6 hours per pay, but it should say 6 hours per week. So we are going to review and audit and correct back to January 4th, 2022, any issues or, pay that was outside of what it should have been. and I will present a report to the commissioners when we have that ready.
Okay.
I'll move to approve the on-call policy revision update as described by the director.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
Okay, 7.2, Jamie, are you online?
I am, thank you. So which, I don't have the agenda in front of me, I
Okay.
apologize.
The
Which
fir-
item is
the
that?
first one is,
Excuse me 1 second, Matt.
Yep.
What about the 7.1 for Jessica? Where's the option?
Yeah, I was,
Good call.
I was gonna-
Okay.
I'll wait.
Thanks,
Sorry,
Jamie.
Jamie.
Back to Jessica.
Okay. So I'm seeking approval on a amendment to our agreement with OptumRx, and it's in regards to reporting changes. And so that was signed by the commissioners already.
These are mandated reporting requirements, I believe, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Motion.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried. Okay, thank you, Jess.
Okay, now, Jamie, 7.2 and 3. The first one is the amendment to agreement with Jersey Shore Borough for 2020 CDBG.
Okay, so yes, in front of you, you have an amendment to the 2020 CV Community Development Agreement with Jersey Shore. This is extending the effective date to April 15th of 23 and adding the air conditioning unit at the Center for Independent Living to that agreement.
Okay, a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
I just want to make a comment here.
Yeah.
You can see why we hire CEDACOG to manage our CDBG funds. I mean, when you follow the trail, it is quite a circuitous adventure of changing dates and monies from prior years and so forth. So everything's done properly, which we appreciate, Jamie.
Very detailed.
Thank you. It does get confusing, you're right.
Yes.
Yes, Jamie.
Okay, the other item on your agenda is the 2021 on behalf of agreement with Jersey Shore Borough that you do standard every year to add the 2021 funds to the borough, and they are undertaking adding funding to the curb cut project.
Okay, a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried. Thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome.
Okay, Commissioners, seeking your approval to ratify the memorandum of understanding with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. This is the MOU that we just discussed in the salary board action, changing the starting wage for COs to $20 an hour, and also increasing the wages of those CO 1s and 2s that are currently employed at the prison by $1.90 an hour, effective 16 October 2022.
Okay, and a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second? I'll second. Any comments or questions? None, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Opposed, carried 2-1.
All right. Might need a little assistance with this one. I think I have the general gist of it. Seeking your approval on the memorandum of understanding with Williamsport Municipal Airport Authority. And the way I understand it is that we are entering into this agreement with the airport authority to commit up to $1 million over a 2-year period as revenue guarantees when required. And part of this agreement, the airport authority is returning $350,000 of federal COVID funds back to us.
Well, they're actually returning money that the county gave them
Yes.
for certain commitments we made because they were able to substitute federal
With
COVID funds.
Yes, okay.
For the tower.
Yeah.
And so, all of this is to go towards revenue guarantees in an effort to bring in a new airline.
Right.
So we had a report about the airport at the chamber breakfast. Was it yesterday? It seems like it was
Yesterday.
And, you know, essentially, the quick story here is that combination of pilot shortages and just the total turning upside down that occurred with the airline industry during the pandemic has caused many of the major carriers to say, hey, you know what, we're not flying here, we're not flying there, because it's not cost effective. Small, yes, that's a good point, Commissioner, that they're also moving away from smaller planes, which is ironic because in the 90s, in the mid-90s, they were moving to smaller jets, 50-seat jets, but now between the price of fuel going up from, I think, $3 a gallon to $7 a gallon, and also because they don't have enough pilots, they say, listen, we need to move bigger planes. We need to have 150 people on these bigger planes. This is all part of another problem which we face specifically in Lycoming County, having to do with the Essential Air Service program. And the EAS program was the program that was put into effect when airline deregulation went into effect in the late 1970s, early 80s. Because prior to that, airlines were required to service every community. And I don't want to say it was a quid pro quo, but in exchange for the deregulation, they put in effect this EAS program, which worked well up until about 2012. And this is the part that I find really hard to believe. The airline that was here at the time was able to drop out of EAS because it was submitting a bid, which I would think should be in the purview of the elected officials. But apparently in the legislation, they never did that. And it was up to the airline. So the airline that was bidding dropped the EAS program. And the result was that we were out of it subsequently. So there's no EAS, Essential Air Service, meant that they had to service us. So now we're in a situation where there's no legal requirement to service us. And if there aren't economic incentives to come here and build a base of support and traffic, it's very hard to attract. So we are committing the $1 million minus $350 effectively is $650,000. It can be Act 13 money. It probably will not be tax revenue, I don't believe. I think it'll probably be Act 13. As part of economic development, to essentially you say to an airline, come in here. If your plane is 50 seats, well, it's going to more likely be a prop plane, to be quite frank. But if your prop plane holds 20 people and you've only got 10, we subsidize those 10 seats. We do this for a certain amount of time to build up the traffic with the goal of getting the airport established, getting the local community back into use of the airport, ending what's called leakage, which is when people, instead of flying out of here, go to Elmira or go to State College. So that's the reason why this MOU is put together. We got to thank the airport board. You know, all the folks on the authority don't get paid a dime. They've been working tirelessly. Frank Pellegrino, Richard Howell's the executive director. He's obviously compensated, but all the members of the board. And that's what this MOU is about.
Yeah, basically we learned yesterday was that 250 planes have been grounded. They've been grounded nationally, and 2,000 flights have been canceled. And the reason why those flights have been canceled is because of shortage of pilots. You remember pilots had to get vaccinated. A lot of them retired. They've offered now to try to bring them back higher salaries, and a lot of them just said, no, we're staying retired. So you have younger pilots coming in and learning how to fly the planes. The cost of fuel is another major factor. So they're putting more people on the larger planes, and they're charging more. You know, I think you'll see that if you look at flights for December. If you're going anywhere in December, you're going to see the flights are a lot more money. This is a combination of that with COVID hitting us. the main thing here is we have to maintain ridership for our airport. If we don't maintain ridership, we can lose the tower. We lose the tower, the airport, you might as well put a nail in it. It's done. They have to maintain the tower.
Could you clarify two figures, Scott? The 250 planes in 2000 canceled flights, is this a day or over what kind of period are we talking about?
We were told that they don't, those 250 planes are grounded. They're not flying at all.
Nationally or
Nationally.
just
Nationally.
in 2,000 flights?
Yeah, 2,000 flights are canceled as a result of those 250 planes being put on the ground.
From what we heard, they literally have the planes stored in the desert
Yeah,
in
They're not
the
using
West, in a Western state. These airlines are not using them as they try to transition. The last point you made is critical.
Let me finish. So we have to keep the tower. Now, what happens, the monies we've voted out since I've been here has been $75,000 a year for the tower. That's what we've given the airport during my term. They have returned that each year. They have not used it. They've used their COVID monies that they received. So as we send them a $75,000 check down, they send it back to us, eventually be saying, listen, we're gonna use our COVID monies. So now they come to us and say, listen, we can get a flight here right now. The big airlines aren't coming back. They're not coming back, most likely. So the smaller airlines are looking at us. Smaller airlines, maybe like Allegiant, Southern, they're looking at us down the line. So in the meantime, if we get a flight in here that isn't for commercial, but for recreational, for instance, flights to Florida for recreation, we have an airline that's interested in that. If we go and we have monies to back us in case we need it, it's like a line of credit. Basically like a line of credit. We don't necessarily need that money, but we can say to them that the county is going to back us if we need to use it. If we run out of COVID monies, we need it's like a savings account. It's a savings account that we can utilize with the approval of the commissioners in case we need it. We can tell them that. It's a great sell to bring them here. That would be going to Florida, it'd be multiple times a week, and it'd be flying into different locations in Florida, and it would take the recreation people, the snowbirds, the people that go to Florida for those purposes. That can keep the ridership up in order to keep the tower intact until we get it in TSA, the TSA. But the EAS is huge. That essential airline service, in my opinion, should never been given up because that helps the government subsidize the flights. And that's why you see some of the other rural airports that are maintaining their airlines, they're getting government subsidies because they're EAS qualified.
And our goal at this point is we're going to try to work with our federal senators and congressmen and state, everyone to get that EAS designation back.
Yeah.
And the more I think about it, it's so ridiculous that the airline was allowed to bid and drop it.
Yeah, that's great.
The last point that Commissioner Metzger made about the air service, some people, let's say that we get lucky and we get an airline that comes in that flies to St. Petersburg, Florida. Some constituents are going to say, well, what are you going to St. Petersburg? Why don't you go to Dulles or go to Washington? Our goal right now is to keep the tower and keep the TSA service.
Yeah.
And if we have to fly to, a place that is not necessarily a major connection, we're not doing it because we think everyone should go to St. Petersburg. We're doing it because we want to get flights going. We're in a little bit of a crisis in that sense. So if you can, talk to your elected officials at the federal level, your congressman, your senator, tell them you want to.
And I'll make it clear right now, these monies have to come out of Act 13. I'm not going to vote them out of taxpayers' dollars. They have to come out of Act 13. I think it's very important. We have to keep the airline, and basically, they're not coming to us and saying, give us $1 million. They're coming to us and saying, listen, we need this in case we have to utilize it. It's like a line of credit or a savings account. So, and it's a way to give them a bigger bang for the buck when they go try to sell this airline about bringing that airline here to Lycoming County so that we can service ridership,
right,
to keep that tower going.
And there is no guarantee, even if we do guarantee ridership, that this airline will come.
True.
And one of the issues that I have with any of the airlines that are not everyday service is that they may be providing services like on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that's a concern of mine. Well, I mean, who flies out Tuesdays and Thursdays? Well, I just came back from Florida, so obviously I was asking a lot of people certain questions. And I was amazed at how many people utilize Allegiant, other airlines, Mondays, Tuesdays, or Thursdays. I was amazed, and the reason why is because that's how they can fill their planes at a cheaper cost. So, Florida's busy. Those airports are busy. If you think of the worst day in New York City with all the people out there, on the sidewalks, and you see those crowds, that's what it looks like at these airports in Charlotte and Florida right now. It is. There's so many people using the services, and so now I'm not as apprehensive to give the approval because I know that there are so many more people using them on off days.
Yeah, and also you have to realize, right, that if a family has an opportunity to fly on a Tuesday and save, they've got 2 kids and 2 adults to get down to Florida, and they can save $150 a ticket or something, they're going to go on Tuesday, right? That's what you're saying.
And that was a question I asked Matt today, because we have traditionally, when you take a vacation, it's Saturday to the following Sunday, right? And I said, can we take vacations from Thursday to Thursday, or Thursday to Friday?
Did he let you take a vacation Thursday?
No, I denied that one.
No, you did that? Okay.
No, but can you, to accommodate, the travel.
Yeah.
We may have to change the way we think.
Well, you know what, Commissioner? That's that discussion we had about taking a vacation next to a holiday, right? It makes perfect sense. You take it, and an employee wants to take it, and the holiday happens to fall in it, they should be allowed to use it, so.
Absolutely.
The airport is already laying off personnel. I know some people have gotten affected by it.
Yeah.
And the chances of coming back, slim to none, is what I'm hearing.
Which one, the local airport? Yeah. Well, we're doing everything we can do, and I know that he would not want to be called out in this manner, but I really do have to thank Frank Pellegrino for being really on top of keeping us informed.
He's a member of the airport authority.
He's a member of the airport authority, and he's gone above and beyond the call of duty as a volunteer to not only do all the work of keeping us educated, but to do the back work with the board, with the airlines, with everyone.
Yeah.
So we thank him along with the other members of the authority.
Absolutely.
It's not an easy road. I know that constituents are upset sometimes about the airport. Everyone who's in a position to do something is trying to do something to keep the airport alive and thriving and moving ahead. From the money that was appropriated during your 10 years here and my first 7 to the continuation of it.
And one thing I continue to emphasize to everybody I speak to, this airport services 500,000 people and 8 universities
And if I can
in a
just-
9-county region.
If I can make one more comment. Richard Howell came in at a really bad time, right? And he's an airport director. And I can assure you, and I'm going to give a shout out to Jason Fink too, from the airport, because they travel, from the chamber. They travel all over to meet the most, the highest level as far as the decision makers to get an airplane in this airport. And Richard, we could tell by the passion in your voice, you're frustrated. We understand that. We do applaud you for doing everything that's in your power to get this airport up and running again. And I think I can speak on behalf of all the commissioners, is that we will be here to support you in that endeavor.
And we just heard from an employer the other day as we toured a building that their business continues to expand. They have more people coming in from out of the area. They love this area. They love what this area represents. And his next statement was, but it's a little challenging to get here. And they're not too excited about that.
Yeah.
So. Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
All right, Commissioners, seeking approval on Resolution 2022-20, This is an adjustment to the billing rates for our solicitor and assistant solicitor services. It's a 2022 budgeted, or incorrect, 2022 budget funds are available. I'll give you the highlights. This is with McCormick Law, and the partner rates have increased to $150 an hour. Associate rate is $135 per hour, paralegal $75, and solicitor rate is $60,000 per year. It's important to note that these rates have remained unchanged for the last 8 years.
8 years?
8 years.
So now they want to raise, do they?
I still think.
J. David, comment?
I forgot to include.
Well, no motion was made.
No
Phrase it correctly, sir, we are respectfully asking for an increase.
And I forgot to add one thing that we hear all the time. The very modest rate of.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, a motion?
I will move to approve.
You're doing this on purpose, solicitor.
I will second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. And you know, I have to give a shout out to your organization, Sarah J. David and Mike Wiley. I never remember in my 10 years, well, this is my 11th year, the amount of work our solicitors are doing for the county at this time. With the influx of revenue that's coming in, there are so many different things going on. Plus the union negotiations are on top of all of this.
The right to knows.
And the right to knows.
Election board.
The election
The
board.
election board. You're doing a fantastic job, and we wouldn't want to lose you. So I'll give you those exorbitant amounts increase just for that purpose.
You know, I think that,
Thank you kindly.
I was joking about that. It was a modest increase.
no, in all seriousness, the rates are very reasonable. And I think that what the public needs to understand is that, you know, this isn't a 9-to-5 job with the solicitors. I mean, we are on the phone or texting them at all hours of the night, and they're always available, 24/7, 365 days a year. And that's not something that happens with every organization. I mean, I think that they make it known to us that we are available to service your needs, as opposed to making one feel like you're bothering them to call them at 9:30 at night about an issue, which is helpful to us as elected officials to try to make decisions. So we do appreciate what you all do over there, and all the folks in the back who we never see their names, but they're doing the research for you and preparing the briefs, and you know, just let them know, Mr. Smith, that we appreciate what they do, and we look forward to working with them.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
So thank you for your kind words. We enjoy doing our work for the Board of Commissioners in the county, and we actually feel honored to do so, which doesn't mean I'm going to withdraw the rate request, but we have enjoyed our relationship and look forward to it continuing.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your professionalism all the time, and your attentiveness at each matter that we either text you on or call you on or see in person. Okay.
Okay. 7.7, Nancy, are you on?
I am. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
Juvenile Probation is asking for your approval to renew our contract with Perseus House for 2022, 2023. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, about 9 programs, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of them have no rate increase.
The shelter did have a $7.17 increase. The intensive treatment unit had a $27.68 increase, and they added a new program, transitional living.
Okay, a motion.
I'll move to approve.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried. Thank you, Nancy.
Nancy, do we have anyone there now at this program?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 7.8 and 7.9, Allison.
Morning, Allison.
Good morning. I'm presenting two grant applications for DEP's 2023 Countywide Action Plan. The first is a Community Clean Water Action Plan Coordinator Grant at $100,000. We are applying on behalf of Northumberland's Conservation District as well as our own planning department to fund CAP coordination. And the second is the CAP implementation grant totaling $540,991. This would fund 5 new projects and 3 previously approved projects that would reduce sediment and nutrient loads into the Chesapeake Bay watershed.
How much is that amount, the second one?
That is $540,991.
And the money for the second, the money from the first one we share with Northumberland on a 50-50 basis, and that's coming from the state, right?
Yep.
Okay, so DEP has given us the money to basically administer the program, and they've said, hey, we want you to partner with another county.
That's correct.
The 540,991, where's that coming from?
That's the same source, DEP. That's
Right.
just solely dedicated to implementing what we're, the coordination is arranging.
Right. So DEP is giving us, just so we're all clear on, this is all the Chesapeake Bay, and so we're clear, we're getting close from the state, close to 640 right here.
Yeah, that's what we're applying for.
Right, that's what we're applying for, right. And on the second one, do we have any match with that?
No, none of this requires any match.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we haven't received it, we're applying for it.
Yeah, right, we haven't received it yet, we're applying for it, but there's a pretty good chance we're gonna get it, I think.
Yeah, that's about what we got last year.
Right.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
A second.
Both of them.
Both items, action items 7.8, 7.9. Motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried. Thank you.
Thanks, Alice.
Thank you. Have a good day. Okay, 7.10.
Jason or Lauren, are you on?
I'm on.
All right, Lauren.
Good morning. I'm seeking approval for calendar year 2021, the 904 Recycling Performance Grant application of 14,412 tons. That does not include the residue rate. And this includes residential and commercial recycling within Lycoming County. And it's only for Act 101 eligible materials, which is paper, metal cans, glass bottles, plastic bottles. And this will be submitted on DCED's grant website, and signatures are not required for the application.
Okay, a motion.
I'll move to approve.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
Lauren, quick question for you, why is that 2021? Are they just behind?
They'll have to finish the calendar year in order to apply for it.
Gotcha.
Because it's all of the materials that were recycled from the calendar year 2021.
Okay, so they look at what we collected in that year. Okay,
That's correct.
thank you.
All right, 7.11 and 12, Shannon.
Last but not least.
Good morning, Commissioners.
About the order of this.
Good morning.
I'm always last.
We're gonna have to fix it.
Oh, well, that's okay.
Isn't it come as you bring them in, or? I don't know.
I don't know. Commissioners, before you, we have 2 resolutions for our RACP grant, which we have with the state. We actually have 2 grants. One is for $1 million, one is for $750,000. We're combining them together. These resolutions are just for the actual business plan application that is due, that our consultant Delta is working on right now. That's due the beginning of November. And then we're also have a resolution regarding the restriction of our matching funds so that we're guaranteeing it. Also in your packets, there are a number of items. There's letters talking about the program requirements. There's letters talking about the reimbursement requirements, and there's also source of funds, use of funds, a whole bunch of things that have to be submitted. I have a signature thing that I'm gonna get to Maya so she can get your signatures on those items. But these are all that, everything that has to be submitted, and this will go along with our relief well bid. That's what this project is for. As part of this, we had to have our consultant do an updated cost estimate for the relief wells, because you have to submit that to RACP. And unfortunately, we wouldn't have our bids in time, so we had to have our consultant prepare a revised cost estimate. So,
I just want to point out, I think, which is a typo error, the resolutions say 2020-2022.
I will fix that.
Okay, so
I'll fix
that
for
should
the
say
signature.
2022-21-22.
Yes,
Okay.
I will fix that.
You know, if you look at this is a comment I made last night at the Township Supervisors. This is an example of the intellectual capital that the county shares with our municipalities. It's so important. This is complicated stuff, and you know, we have multiple full-time people working on it and doing a great job. But to totally put this on the backs of even a place like Loyalsock Township or Old Lycoming or South Williamsport Borough, where they don't have a planning department. I mean, the city is smaller also. So I think that the taxpayers should understand that we do this because it helps get the project done, and we share that knowledge that you all have with the municipality.
Anyway, this is going to get done through a team approach.
Yeah, yeah. And we even, you know, we're contracting with Delta to help us with the paperwork, because RACP is not, I have no background in RACP, and I know with what our purchasing department and our budget department are going through right now, it is not for anybody who doesn't understand the process.
Right.
Or doesn't work with it on a regular basis.
Similar example is what we're doing up in Jersey Shore with the Lost She Run.
Yeah.
So that the residents there are protected, and we're sharing, you know, John Lavelle and all the folks who are working on that. I say that to one of our constituents. He is. We are, John. Seriously. We're working
very much so
from multiple angles to try to get funding for that. We've applied for some and we didn't get it, but we're going. We're moving. He's smiling. He knows we are.
Yeah, you get turned down for one and you apply for the next one.
Yep.
Right.
Just keep doing it.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
I'll get that revised in that packet for you.
Okay. I have a motion to accept action items 7.11 and 7.12.
Yeah, I'll move to approve both of them.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried on all.
Commissioner Conley.
I have two. I mentioned a few weeks ago about the border and how a lot of people think that the border doesn't affect us because we're all the way up in Pennsylvania. It does affect us in many, many ways. And I mentioned about the fentanyl. Pennsylvania is now the third, it's ranked third now in the United States for fentanyl use. Third. We're fourth in deaths. There's a pipeline going into Philadelphia from the cartels, and it's going throughout the entire state. We have to secure the borders. When you think about 300 Americans dying per day, that's 100,000 per year. And I used the analogy of an airplane crashing, a major airline, 300 people on that plane crashing per day. We had an airplane crash every single day for a year with 300 people on it. Government would immediately shut down the airport. They would shut down the airlines, and they would investigate why their airplanes are going down. And it wouldn't take a whole year. A few of them go down, and they would shut them down. Yet the federal government continues to ignore what's going on at the border. And it's affecting us in our own backyards. And it's taking our youth, and it's killing them through this poison. That's the first comment. The second comment is regarding the coroner. My colleagues have spent years and years and years researching and going to buildings and trying to retrofit a coroner building into a building that's already on a facility or ground or on property, I should say on property. It has not worked out. Since I started my term 3 years ago, we've probably been into a dozen buildings. We were to one again on Tuesday. We're not finding what we need. And the coroner's needs continue to increase daily. This has to get done now. So next week I will be placed on the agenda for us to purchase land. For us to do an appraisal on land next to UPMC that has been offered to us as a possible sale by the UPMC staff.
Should be reasonable.
We've met with them. They're willing to have a coroner on their campus. They think it's a good fit. I think a coroner should be next to a medical facility. It shouldn't be in an industrial park. It should not be located in areas that we've visited. It just hasn't worked. His needs need to be met now. There's a public outcry for those needs to be met now. And we have a partner right now with UPMC willing to entertain selling that land to us. So next week I'll put on the agenda for us to vote on having that property appraised and possibly moving forward with the purchase of that land so that we can put a coroner next to a medical facility.
So here's and with regard to your last comment about the coroner's facility, the coroner has told us he doesn't think it's a good place, the UPMC land. And he has numerous reasons. And I think that for someone who's been doing the job for 20 years and who has also been involved in emergency services, his opinion should be respected. I think for us to just say, hey, torpedoes, we're going to go and do it where we think it should go is both disrespectful and not smart. I look back in my files and I found emails. Commissioner Macer and I and McKernan had visited with the hospital in my first term, and they offered to sell us land for the coroner. And we ruled it out because I don't have a specific email saying the reason we ruled it out, but I'm presuming that we ruled it out partly because we thought it was more expensive to build new, but I think partly because the coroner had told us that he didn't think it was a good idea. So we've been down this road. I was surprised because I forgot that we'd met with Steve Johnson 5 or 6 years ago.
The property was further up on High Street, so like almost directly across.
The property that they wanted to sell us.
That we looked at the first time.
Yeah, well, this property is at the end of their zone.
Yeah.
This is up on high.
Right.
Yeah.
So the one we're looking at now is over here. That one was like almost right across.
Across the street.
From UPMC.
Oh, yeah. It was closer to the hospital.
Yep.
Yeah, that one's closer to the hospital. This one's further away. So anyway, it is true, we've looked at a lot of buildings. My other concern about building new is, frankly, I think we're kicking the can down the road because the time that it takes, I mean, you had commented that it's something that needs to be done now. I think that if we are serious about trying to do something now, what we need to do is re-engage with the building that we have looked at, which is the Lundy building, which works, which I know my two colleagues are not, have expressed reservations about doing. If we truly believed that we need to deal with it right now, we would find a way to lease that building and purchase the building within the parameters provided by law. What does that mean? It means we can lease it at fair market value and we can purchase it at fair market value, right? But if we truly believed we had to do it today, then that's what we would do. We wouldn't be looking at getting land appraised to buy property that we then have to go through planning, zoning, site development, and all the other roads that have to be done to do new building, and we would get more bang for the buck because we would have a place for our magistrate, we would have a place for our DUI center, we would be able to deal with the fact that we have over 500 people who don't get fingerprinted, we'd be able to have a central processing place, we'd be able to use money that's available from programs that we're doing in addition to the coroner to help build out what we need built out with the building. We put in for $1 million grant through Senator Casey. We withdrew it for that Lundy building. I thought it was withdrawn prematurely, and I objected to it, and I opposed it, but my two colleagues wanted it withdrawn, so they withdrew it. If we truly believe the coroner has to be dealt with today, there's a solution there. I think purchasing the land is a red herring. I think it's kicking the can down the road, and I don't think it's going to meet the needs of anyone except the coroner. So we'll spend $300 a square foot building a 10,000 square foot building, which, by the way, he says it needs to be bigger than that. We'll spend over $3 million, and all we'll have solved is problem for the coroner. We won't have dealt with the problem of no home for Magistrate Fry, which the federal government has told us they want us out of that building through Housing and Urban Development. The Lycoming Housing leases us the building. We will not have provided a DUI center or a central processing or storage and records retention or all the other things that we think we can do. So I would ask my colleagues to reconsider this move to purchase new and see if we can get down and find a solution that truly would meet it. I was not thrilled about having to lease a building. And I've said that from day one. But I've come to the conclusion, and one of the reasons I wasn't thrilled about leasing the building is the experience we've had over at the Charwell building, where we've spent $12 million in the last 10 years leasing it at $500,000 a year. If we leased that building at fair market rate, I think it's about 24,000 square feet. Would you agree with that?
What, Lundy building?
Yeah.
It's 24,000 square feet.
If we lease it at $7 a square foot, you're talking about getting a coroner a building for $168,000 a year. Now, if you think 24, I think that the appraisal we got cited $7 a square foot as fair market value. I don't know whether that is still the going rate, but let's say for the sake of argument it's $8 a square foot. It's $192,000 divided by 12 months. For $16,000 a month, we can put the coroner in there, we can go after the federal money that's available.
For how long, Commissioner?
Well, we would have to lease it for probably about 10.
We have worked on this for 18 months. We have looked at every possible angle. We have turned the chair upside down 10 times and then right side back up 10 times, trying to figure out how we could go into the Lundy building. And I was on board with you.
I know.
It can't be done.
No, it can't.
No, excuse me.
No, wait. Actually, I was talking.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay, so Commissioner, follow me on this. Commissioner.
I'm listening.
So let's say we lease it at, let's say, I don't know, let's say $9 a square foot is a fair market value, okay? 24,000, that's, what do you want to say? You want to say 8?
How many years? How many years?
It's going to be 10 years. It's going to be 10 years.
I am not going to get into a lease for 10 years.
No, but Commissioner, let me explain.
That's just my vote.
Okay, but just let me explain what we're going to do. The alternative is we're going to spend more money. We're going to spend $3 million to build new. Because we all agree it's $300 a square foot.
New.
I know, but all it does is solve the corner problem, $3 million. Okay. And then we've still got to deal with all those other things. Look, before we rule out the Lundy building, and by the way,
it's been ruled out.
Well, we never voted on it. Well, that's because you two decided you didn't want to do it. Okay, so it's ruled out. So then you know what I'll do? You guys run the county, make your decisions instead of trying to analyze problems.
I was on board with you the first time with the Lundy building. I explored that thing to death with you.
No, but
and you can't deny that.
No, what we haven't done is put together a lease and ownership. We were trying to buy it outright. We had two conflicting appraisals.
At a lease. And at first it was going to be a 3-year lease. Then it was going to be a 5-year lease.
No.
Now you're talking a 10-year lease.
No, well, listen, the only reason I said 10-year lease, it could be shorter than that. But the point is that we haven't sat down. They did this in another county. The coroner brought us the paperwork from another county showing where they leased and then purchased the building.
That situation's completely different.
All right. Well, listen, you have every right to put it on the agenda. And
we'll discuss it some more.
We'll discuss it more. But I really think that if we want to deal with it today, I mean like really today.
I am.
before the end of this
So I'm
year, we
talking
could have
about
the
this.
coroner moved over there.
We continue to look at more buildings. We looked at another one the other day, 40,000
Yeah.
square feet.
Right.
An industrial park.
Right.
Why would we put a coroner in an industrial park?
No, I don't think that anyone is advancing that building, but I think if we don't listen to the coroner telling us
Listen,
that the
I've-
building doesn't work where we want to put it, we're
I-
like slapping him in the face saying,
No.
hey, you don't know what you're talking
I
about.
have worked extensively with our coroner. I call him at night. I call him at 10:30 at night. I called him on my vacation, 10:30 at night, because he was concerned about this. And we spoke for an hour. I have spent numerous hours on this, and his two concerns are this, which I don't buy these concerns. First of all, I want it close to the proximity of my employees. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Employees have to drive to work. Okay, you're not driving from one county to another. This is centrally located. It's next to a medical facility. That's the number one. Number two, he's concerned about security. We have talked about security. Okay? That neighborhood isn't horrible. Doctors and nurses walk every night to their car. Every night to their car. Patients walk to their cars. UPMC has one of the most fantastic security forces now. They hired security, they're retired police officers and state police officers. They have a phenomenal police force. If it has to be gated, we'll gate it, like the federal building. But it's a neighborhood where it belongs, and those are the two concerns. Security, which we'll address, and proximity to my employees. I'm sorry. Chuck, I'm trying to get a building for you done. And this is the way to get it done. We build it from scratch. We make it effective so that it's not 59 years old like the building we looked at the other day, or the Lundy building, which is going on, I think, 25 years old.
No, the Lundy building is, I think, 10 or 12 years old.
Is it that young?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay, it's not that. Okay, I'm sorry.
No.
But the bottom line is this is not retrofitted. This is built according to what a medical coroner's building should be and look like. So we'll discuss it next week. We'll put it
Well,
on
so
the
let
agenda.
me just make a couple comments. First of all, we know the coroner's not here, but hopefully he'll be here next week.
Well, those are the two concerns he's voiced to me.
Yeah. I think when he's talking, he's not talking about close to where employees live. What he's talking about is that when it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you have to go out, or if it's 9 o'clock during rush hour and you have to go out, it's easier when you have easy access to an interstate like he's got with the Lundy building. He goes down Reach Road, bam, they're on the interstate, they can service a county the size of Rhode Island. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about that, believe it or not, when you start getting in on Campbell Street and High, and you've got the traffic from the hospital, and you have trucks making deliveries. I've been there. I know it.
Who's he going to service?
Listen, 24 hours, 7 days a week, they're servicing
Okay, but
the
they're
public.
not first responders.
Right.
No, but listen, they go to first responder events. When there's an automobile accident, he's on the site with his employees to make sure that sometimes the police don't even want to touch anything until the coroner gets there if it's a drug overdose or something where they have to establish chain
The
of custody.
building would be centrally located.
Okay, well, look,
It's not
but
in
the point
Unionville, and
is,
it's not in
who are,
Jersey
you,
Shore.
who are we as commissioners? I've been in this job 7 years. I have the audacity to tell somebody that you who've done the job for 30 years don't know where the hell your building should be? I mean, but here's the other thing. You know, he talked to UPMC. Their security force cannot service off-site property. They are not the City of Williamsport Police. You know, so relying on them is not a solution. But more fundamentally, the cost. I'm looking at it from a taxpayer perspective.
That's our responsibility.
That's what our responsibility is. And our responsibility as protecting taxpayer money is to say that we spend $3 million building a coroner's building, then we spend $2 million doing the magistrate's building, and then we spend $2 billion doing a central processing and a DUI and storage place. It is not economically
And it's our responsibility to obey the law and follow the law and not pay more for a building than what it's been appraised at.
We're not going to. The point is that we listen, we've been using Lundy's building for 2 years until we stopped using it a short while ago,
That was
right?
the release.
But the point is that we lease buildings all the time to use them for things we need. We lease vehicles. Leasing a building at a fair market rate to get things together.
This is a debate.
Right. It's not a debate.
Yeah.
You two have made up
We
your
should-
mind.
we should do
You've
it
made up your
next
mind, and
week.
next week
Well,
put it on
next
the
week,
agenda.
I'm
Okay,
telling
that's
you,
fine.
You had some statements, I wanted to tell you what.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for
Okay,
sharing that.
Yes,
with me.
we'll discuss this for
Yeah,
next week. The reason why I
absolutely.
brought this up is so that it will be put on the agenda next week, and the coroner is welcome to be here. I'm sure he's not gonna be happy about that, and that's his prerogative. I'm trying to find a man a home that will be done within the next year.
And alls I can say is that, with all due respect, I have the most respect for the coroner.
I do, he works his
And
tail
if-
off, and his
and
staff.
If we do purchase this or consider it, it's not any signs of disrespect. In a matter of fact, you know, Commissioner, when you talk about $8 a square foot, well, once that building's done, it's not gonna be $8 a square foot, it'll be $16 a square foot, which in 10 years will give him $3.8 million, and we still won't own a building.
That's right.
Oh, that, you are totally incorrect on
Well,
that.
that's what you
No,
said.
you're totally incorrect, and I actually,
You should
no, I
lease it.
said you lease it, and during the leasing period, we're doing the renovations to it, right? But what we're gonna do in the alternative is, we're gonna spend $300 a square foot to build a building that serves one function in a place where the guy doesn't even think it's smart. It is disrespectful when someone says to you as an elected official,
Okay,
that
we heard
doesn't
this.
work.
We heard this.
I know, you heard it.
Thank you.
But I just don't want to twist the words around.
Okay.
Good talking.
Thank you. Public comment?
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
Is there any reason why, if you need a DUI processing center and you need all these other things, why are you not building an emergency services building that houses all of those things? That sounds like it would be the
Because
most economical and.
The only emergency we have right now is the coroner. That's the only immediate emergency.
But
Fry's
still-
office, we've been told that eventually we'll have to get out of there. They haven't given us an eviction notice. They just eventually want us
We'll
out of
buy
there.
it. He
Okay,
likes
we-
being there.
yeah. And then he likes it. I mean, he even said to me there, at the budget meeting, there's no need for me to move tomorrow. There isn't. The DUI center is currently, we have a location for it. Central processing, we have a location for it. We've actually put, for the central processing, we've actually put fingerprint machine in the APO office. So they've cut the fingerprints, it used to be 500, they've cut it down to under 100 now, by not even having a location for it. So we've addressed the other issues. The immediate need, which we've heard for years, is the coroner, okay? And trust me, this keeps me up at night. This is the reason why I've called the coroner at 11 o'clock at night, why I called him on vacation, okay? And I'm trying to get this resolved. I know this isn't what he wants, okay? Bottom
I
line,
was just
it's
curious.
not what, sometimes it's not what you
I hear
want.
there.
It's what we can afford
Mhm.
and what makes sense. And this makes sense. And we can't afford this. We can't afford a public safety building that's gonna be $15 to $20 million. And it's for the grant that we asked to be pulled. That is because it was directly tied to that building, which we knew we were gonna purchase within the next year. We can reapply for the same grant that Governor Casey can ask for if we do new construction.
Let me correct or put a different version on it. What you're asking is a logical question, but as the commissioner said, it's $15 to $20 million,
Right.
okay? But in terms of the other things, we are not doing a proper job with the other things. We have 500 people who are not fingerprinted.
That's not true.
No, well, that's what I was told by the sheriff. I was told by the sheriff that there are people.
It's been reduced.
It's been
Drastically.
reduced, but it's not 500. It's still 500. It's been reduced from what it was. Regardless, we have people who are not being fingerprinted, who commit crimes, who then go out and reoffend, okay, and their prints are not on the file. We have had and asked from the courts to have central processing center and the district attorney. There are numerous things. Listen, if we buy the building the magistrate is in now, we will need to do at least $1 million worth of work to the building to bring it up to what it is.
Already. Now, it's public comment time.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes, it
You're
is.
right. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you, John.
Sharp.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Might not like what I'm going to say, but anyhow,
It's fine.
Rick, I want to say thank you for the common sense vote you made about voting against the recount of for 2020 concerning the votes. spokespersons for the group wanting the recount of the 2020 election ballots, from what I've seen from being in a couple meetings, received special treatment. They were set up in the corner, and they were called first to come and speak. Okay, Scott, you stated recently in the paper that a recount cost would be minimal. Would you like to put a cost to that? Would you like to put a figure to that?
We're working on that right now, John.
That's not what I asked you. I said, you said it would be minimal. So what do you consider minimal? In a dollar figure.
John, when it comes to election integrity, which we are seeing is actually being challenged immensely over the past few years, okay, that cost is going to be worth it. When we have people on both sides of the ticket that don't have confidence in election,
that's your opinion. I know. I'm a former.
This is the reason why I voted the way I did.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But you still make the comment that it's not going to be nominal, and you can't come up with a figure for it. Okay. You stated that we will make sure that this is done right, so that everybody is aware of it, and there is no shenanigans from any certain individuals. Who are these certain individuals you're talking about? Is it Democrats or what?
I believe it'd be anybody who would try to influence the process that Forrest sets down. Listen, we're going forward with a process that was voted on that will be moving forward from the 2022 election on in manual recounts. We're going to use that same exact process with this two offices.
You're catering to a small group, but anyways, in the end, I think it should be that the people that want it done, the group, and you two make a lot of money, should pay for it, period. It's a waste of time. It's all on one side. I was former vice chair of the Democratic Party of Lycoming County, okay? When everybody was saying that, from what I'm hearing, you know, even though in 2016 Donald Trump won, we may have not liked it. And some people said it was fixed, but the majority of Democrats were willing to accept it. But the other thing you said, which was quoted in the Harrisburg paper in an article, that you support President Biden. That's kind of like me saying I support President Trump, which would make me a hell of a liar like he is. Thank you.
What I did say is I support our president because everybody in this country should support the office of the president. I don't agree with a lot of times.
I'm not arguing with you.
That's fine, John.
I express my opinion.
Yep. And it's always good to see you, John. Glad to see you. I'm always on your mind.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
I have mine. That's better than some other people.
How you doing, Tom?
All right. Morning, Tom Adams. I wish he wouldn't leave.
He always does. He says his piece and leaves. And that's fine. It's always good to see him.
Yes, it's quite a day, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Well, we're in quite times, but we're saying it's not one-sided for sure with the election integrity, and I appreciate the work. We don't always agree on everything, but so many things. Well, one thing about the airport, and that's great move that you guys are trying to do to keep that tower open. But yeah, the real problem with those pilots are the COVID shots. That's what's grounding them. Those shots are affecting those people, and they're getting myocarditis, and they can't fly to get disabled, and that's the biggest problem that they're having. It's not the COVID. I encourage everyone to not get any of these shots, and they're going to keep pushing them, and they're dangerous as anything. They're killing kids, and they're killing these athletes. We see an attack on our whole society. There's so many things I have written here. One thing though, I was thinking when the Pharisees and the tax collector, Jesus told the parable, and the Pharisees saying, "No, Lord, thank you for letting me be so righteous and being able to do all these great things as a religious man," and then not like this tax collector over there, and the tax collector couldn't even look up to the sky, couldn't even look up. And so he's having contempt, and that's what we really have to be careful of. No matter what side we're on, we don't want to hold contempt for people with the opposing views. And it's really hard to do sometimes because you kind of get caught up in the politics of things and the movement of things, and you just don't want to. You're not agreeing. You're going to think, "Well, this guy's stupid," and this like, and you don't want to do that, because we're all stupid and we're all smart, but we just have to make sure we're looking to God and let Him help us sort things out. And I just really firmly believe, I just think our churches are failing us miserably. Of course, I can't go to every church or anything. I don't know how often they're getting together just to pray for our country, and I try to get people together to pray, and I know people are busy, but just to pray for the nation. Jesus said, "You have not because you ask not." And will He find faith on the earth when He comes back? And He's referring to, are they really going to pray? Are they going to stick with my program and really look to, not just giving up, just because we don't get what we want. I've told people, I says, I'm in this movement to just reinfuse morality and decency and actually Christian ethics back in our government, because anything that's immoral, and whether it's passed by law, whether it's passed constitutionally, and anything unconstitutionally needs to be stood up against, doesn't need to be followed. That's why I think the Act 77 should be just totally ignored, because it wasn't done properly. But that's how we start gaining things back. I forgot where I was going, but the immorality and the things that it's attack on our children, we see with the abortion, these people that support it wholeheartedly and push for it. Now we wonder why our cities are burning, because of the same people. That whole mentality of disregard for innocent human life we're seeing the fruition of it. There are more people here, but oh well. And just hope we really think about how we vote and what we support, because we don't want to vote for people and personalities, and that's one thing I think people have accused me already of. Oh, you just love Trump. I said, no. I said, there's things I disagree with him, definitely. And he wasn't perfect, but I see him as an improving man and someone who really cares about the country. We were doing great, but now we have, just like with the airlines too, the expense with fuel. This is no reason for this. This fuel, and there's no reason that the environment, our fossil fuels are not destroying this environment. There's a great book, Hot Talk, Cold Science by Fred Singer. Great thing about environmental issues, and another one good about the lesser magistrates.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Comments online?
We do, just one.
Yeah.
Bill Fenderson.
Yes.
You are so right about this. The Lundy building would be a good fit.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. We've completed our agenda. And the meeting will be adjourned. Our next meeting will be on Thursday, October 27th, right here at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I gotta run to a meeting.
See ya.
Okay.
I didn't know we had to sign sign seats at meetings.
What?
I didn't know we had to sign seats at meetings. He said that I signed them to sit up there. Interesting.
Still reading.
I think it's great.
People sit where